Hesh Sagafi here, Liberty Home Mortgage, and today this topic is how to survive an economic crisis. And of course, there's no better time to talk about this than right now. We're in the last quarter of 2022, where inflation is at all-time highs since 1982. So naturally, because I'm talking about an economic crisis, we got inflation on the table, I had to go with my MTV shirt, right? So MTV, I can't remember the exact date it came out, but I think it was Video Killed the Radio Star, I think was the first video on MTV. So if you know what the first video was on MTV, put it in the comments section. That's beside the point. Anyway, make sure you subscribe to this page, like this video on this topic, and share it with your friends, and put all of your comments down in there, and especially if you remember the exact date without Googling it, that MTV came out, the first video on MTV. If you have to Google it, that's cheating. But besides that, how to survive an economic crisis. So this is what everybody has to be paying attention to right now, okay? In order to survive financially through this time, because this is gonna be a tough time. We went through this most recently during the Great Recession, which was 2007, 8, 9. I always tell people it was more like the back half of 2005 all the way through 2012. That was a long grind. A lot of people got hurt financially, and you're talking when people get hurt financially, divorces, bankruptcies, a lot of bad things happen in people's lives. So how do we make it through this one? We start off with this, and you want to take notes on this stuff. Budget, 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 okay? You've got to write down on a sheet of paper, and you're going to sit here and say, I don't want to do this. But again, if you don't want to do this, it's almost like being on a ship that's sinking and saying, I'm not willing to put on a life preserver or get onto a raft, okay? If you don't do any of that stuff, don't expect to be saved or don't expect to survive. But if you want to survive, you've got to come up with a budget. We break our budget down into income and into expenses. You whip out a sheet of paper, you write down what your income is, you write down what your expenses are. The reason people run into difficult financial times, the reason they go bankrupt, is because their expenses exceed their income, okay? Now, when your expenses exceed your income, we've got to look at how do we get those numbers back to balance, okay? Now, there's a couple different ways to do that. The first thing we do when it comes to expenses is we cut expenses. The thing that we can do in the most immediate moment in order to survive a financial or economic crisis is cut expenses. When it comes to the income side, I'm gonna go over that and cover that. Income is not so easily to increase because either you have to either increase your income or you have to decrease your expenses or some combination of that. So when it comes to income, it's not that easy just to walk into work and say, hey, can I get paid an extra $20,000 a year? Especially during an economic crisis, the problem is what happens to unemployment? Unemployment goes up. Why does unemployment go up? It's because employers cut back on their workforce and their staff. So the last thing you're gonna probably do is walk into work and say, I need to be paid more money because the employer is sitting here saying, we have to cut back on this stuff. So at the end of the day, when it comes to income, that's a little harder to address, but we will address it. But let's focus on expenses. Expenses are the easiest thing to cut because you can cut those immediately. Starting this as an example. Do you stop at Starbucks for coffee in the morning? Cut that out, okay? Go buy coffee at the grocery store, make coffee at home in the morning. Cut out Starbucks. Do you go out to lunch? Do you go to Subway? Do you go to get sandwiches? Do you go to sandwich places? Wherever you go, Wendy's, McDonald's, where do you go for lunch? Do you go to restaurants for lunch? Do you go to golf course for lunch, for God's sakes? Where do you go to get lunch? Cut that out, brown bag it, make your lunch at home. When you come home for dinner, what are you cooking for dinner? What are you eating for dinner? The easiest things to do are to cut out those expenses immediately. Do you use DoorDash? I've done videos on this before. Do you use DoorDash? Do you use Uber? You've got to analyze your expenses and see what can get cut out. And I'm telling you this right now. If you use DoorDash, cut that out. And for whatever in God's name they're delivering to you, cut that out also. Let's not forget, humankind and civilization existed and survived and managed somehow. We somehow managed to survive without DoorDash, without having the grocery store deliver our food to our house, okay? So you have to go back to some of the things that you used to do when you were dead broke. I always tell people, during difficult times, live like you're dead broke. During the great times, live and work like it's not gonna last forever, okay? Those are two important concepts to pay attention to, but we'll get to those a little bit later, okay? The first thing is to budget. When we budget, We break down our income and expenses. We look at our expenses. We carve out all of the junk and the garbage, and you're gonna know what it is, but this is how you carve it out. By the way, if you're saying, well, Hesh, how do I get a list of my expenses? Simple. Pull up your bank accounts for the last 6 months. Pull up your credit card statements for the last 6 months. At the end of the day, you're either charging things on credit cards or you're debiting stuff out of your bank account. So if you pull up your bank account and you pull up your credit cards, you're gonna see for the last 6 months what all of your expenses are. You could start checking things off as to, okay, I spent this much on DoorDash in the month of April. Start carving that stuff out. These are the expenses, okay? Now, let's move over to the income side of it, okay? Let's talk income. The expenses is always easy for me to talk about because I can quantify it. You can measure it, it's simple. Do you ever use DoorDash? Good, if you do, get rid of it. How often do you eat out for lunch? Get rid of it. Do you go to Starbucks and places like that to get even a coffee or something like that? Get rid of it. That's easy. Let's go into income. How do we affect your income, okay? Let's talk about income, where you work, okay? You gotta make more money, okay? Now the question becomes, how can you make more money? Like, let's just say you're a police officer. I've got news for you. You're not going to the city and saying, pay me more money. It's just not happening, okay? You've got contracts and unions and things like that. Maybe you're a school teacher, okay? It doesn't matter. Let's raise up your income. First of all, be the best worker at your place of employment. Wherever you work at, be the best you can be every single day. Because I'm gonna tell you this, during downturns in the economy, employers cut staff. They lay people off. They get rid of people. Why do they do that? They are cutting expenses. You have to make yourself valuable to the point where you are not expendable as an employee, okay? So every day you walk in, now some people walk into work every day knowing that cuts are happening, they know the economy's shrinking. They walk in every day, they're just waiting for the hammer to fall on them. They complain, they bitch, they moan, they are a cancer, they whisper behind closed doors about, do you know what's going on in the company? Do you know what's happening over here? I heard so-and-so is next, I heard we're all next. You could do that, but I'm gonna tell you this right now, it does not serve a purpose, it does not promote growth and stability, and trust me, for as much as you feel nervous, your employer feels the same way, and if they feel like you're negative and you're a cancer, I got news for you. You're gonna be the first one out of a job. When it comes to cuts, the first thing the employer's gonna look at is say, okay, out of everybody we've got, which ones are the cancers? Which ones are so negative that come in miserable every day with a look on their face that nobody likes being around them? Those people actually adversely affect our productivity. They're the first to go. So my first set of advice for you when it comes to income is be the best worker at your place of employment, okay? We're talking about how to survive during an economic crisis. Let me give you another technique over here, okay? Never assume your job is safe. Wake up every single day like you're unemployed and you're gonna be out of a job by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Never assume your job is safe, okay? As soon as you start assuming your job is safe, that's when you get lazy. That's when you get caught, you get fat and lazy, okay? That's just the reality of it. You cannot allow that to occur. Do not become complacent, okay? Do not think your job is safe, there's no issues, there's no problems at all. Come in every single day, be the best person at your place of employment. Never assume your job is safe. Here's another one, cross-train and learn multiple positions. If it is slow at work, because again, we're talking about surviving an economic crisis. When an economic crisis is happening in the world, I've got news for you. Your employer is cutting back, cutting jobs, cutting overtime out, cutting pay, cutting everything. Another thing you have to do, besides being the best person in the workplace, besides coming into work every day with a positive attitude, and besides thinking your job is not safe, the other one is cross-training. Go do other positions. I've had people say, Hesh, but I don't want to go do that job. Well, you might not have one, so between doing that one and not having one, if that's your alternative, what's your choice, okay? Don't tell me what you like and what you don't like. When a boat is sinking, okay, I always go back to the Titanic. When the Titanic is sinking, don't tell me that you're wearing your best suit and you don't want to get it wet. I got news for you. It's going to get wet, and the last priority on your list is the suit you're wearing, because before you know it, you're underwater with your suit and everything else. So I don't want to hear about what you like and what you don't like, okay? I don't like going through economic crises, if that's the word, okay? I don't like it, but it comes, it's the way it is. It's a big wave that comes and hits you. You have to act and you have to deal with it. So cross-train, learn other positions, get up from your desk and go to other places and ask people what they're doing, learn what they're doing. It can't hurt, right? Knowing other people's positions. Another one is have a positive outlook and give off good energy. It sounds a little crazy. I'm not saying to take a bunch of rocks and crystals and put them on your desk or something like that. Who the hell knows? If you got room on your desk, put them there. It can't hurt, right? But you want to give off positive energy. You want to have a positive outlook. It is harder to fire somebody. It is harder to cut somebody's pay. It's harder to get rid of somebody who you like, okay? As the employer, it's harder to get rid of people you like and care about. Here's the reality of small businesses. A lot of small businesses run their business based on feelings, okay? A lot of times it's the wrong way to run a business. When you run a business based on your feelings, you typically run yourself out of business. But a lot of small businesses run them on their feelings. Employers have trouble firing people, or I shouldn't even use the word firing, I should say laying off people who they like, okay? So to survive an economic crisis, come in every day with a positive attitude. Even if you think you're next on the chopping block, come in every single day like you're gonna, I think James Dean said it, right? Come in every single, well, he didn't say this, come in every single day like this, but come in every single day like you're gonna live forever, okay? Live like you're gonna die tomorrow and work like you're gonna live forever. I forget exactly what the saying was, but maybe we could throw a shot of James Dean up there, something like that too, okay? I've already gone over carve out wasteful spending. Here's another one, is pick up a second job. If you're sitting here watching me saying, Hesh, I already work 40 hours a week, I got news for you. This is my personal opinion, of course, now. I think 40-hour-a-week work weeks are antiquated, outdated, and old. In today's economy, where we have more financial pressures on us, for example, cell phones. 20 years ago, you didn't need 30 years ago, you didn't need a cell phone to live. You didn't need cell phones, you didn't need the internet, okay? In today's world, to function effectively and efficiently, you need a cell phone. You need the internet. Cell phone service is $100, $150 a month. Internet, that's God knows $50 to $200 per month. That didn't exist 30 years ago. There's more financial pressures on us. 30 years ago, working 40 hours a week worked. I got news for you. 40 hours a week anymore probably doesn't work. I think 45 to 55 hours a week is the new 40, right? 55 is the new 40, and people watch and say, oh my God, you're saying to work away. No, you've been brainwashed and trained into thinking that you're entitled to some 40-hour work week, but you want to live a lifestyle that takes a 55-hour work week to support it. Think about that. You can't work for 40 hours a week, but have a lifestyle of 55 hours a week. The truth of the matter is, during economic crisis, economic downturns, you've got to work more hours, and you might have to pick up a second job. That means if you have to go work a night shift, you have to go do something like that, this is what you must do. These are the steps to surviving an economic crisis. Rewatch this video, write all of this down, and pay attention to everything I said, because this is how you get through an economic crisis. Watch my other videos. I have a lot of different topics on a lot of different things. Share them on your page, it'll help other people. Subscribe to my page, it helps me. And then like it, and hopefully you're following along to watch my next video. We'll catch you later. Thanks so much.